Why do people collect Zoltan David jewelry? I'm going to guess as to why. They are by nature art collectors, and they fall in love with something, and they see that it's valuable. They see that it's rare, and they want to own it. The advantage of collecting jewelry to many of our collectors is that they wear it. That makes jewelry an interesting art form in the fact that it's a functional art form. But all art that collectors collect, whether it be paintings or sculptures, are works that are inspirational to them. And so I think that's why they collect it. But I've never really thought to ask one of our collectors, why do you collect it? To me, it's obvious they're in love with it and they get a lot of joy out of it, and that's good enough for me. Henry and Nicole, very, very dear friends of ours. Patty and I have known them for 10, 11 years.
As a person, I think if you spend any time with Zoltan, I think you understand that he's a unique individual that is really passionate about what he does.
They have a lot of style. They're very much individuals about the art that they collect, about the kind of vehicles they drive, all that sort of thing.
Well, I think we both share a trait of being rather eclectic in our taste, you know, and one of the things that Nicole talked about is the unique nature of his jewelry. I like to know that I'm wearing a ring that I won't see on anybody else at any point in time.
I'm more influenced with Nicole and Henry, and I take it more personally because they're close friends. So when I design something for them, it's like I'm designing something personal for family.
We've worked with Zoltan on many custom pieces. I mean, he's made some very unique pieces for me. I have a stingray anklet that he made from stingray hide and diamonds and gold. And
usually that's a piece that is a little daring and a little different.
We started off saying, Zoltan and I wear anklets all the time. It's usually a leather band or a gold chain. What can you do for me? So we've spent a lot of time with him working on pieces, and they always evolve from a little acorn of an idea. I want an anklet. I've had Zoltan many times when we were in the design process sort of sit back and sort of look at me and sort of ponder, and I get a feeling that he's not just listening to what you're saying, but he's sort of looking at you and he's trying to understand how your energy flows and what's going to make you happy. And my pieces, my anklet was going to be a plain gold chain, and it ended up being a stingray and diamond and gold, amazing one-of-a-kind masterpiece.
The designing jewelry, you have to keep in mind what jewelry is, and what jewelry is a communication of the person who's wearing it. It talks about their status, it talks about their sensibilities of style. It tells quite a bit about who they are and how they see things.
I'm wearing a piece that was my 7th anniversary present, and the stone came from a stone cutter by the name of Clay Zava.
We had a gathering here one night of some of our special collectors and clients, and we had this extraordinary collection of gemstones, and we sat around drinking champagne, looking at these stones, and one of these gems happened to be a beautiful sphene, a big, rare, beautiful sphene.
It's about a 9-carat sphene or titanite, and this stone has, it's the only stone that has more refraction than diamonds.
Looking at the gemstone and seeing how animated it was with light, I wanted to do something that went along with this animation.
We actually left the stone with Zoltan and said, make something amazing and call us in a few months.
So the piece I created for her does that. It has these domed pyramid-like elements around the gemstone that are high polished, but because of their position, they almost behave as a series of mirrors.
But it's just a beautiful, unique piece that I think he did an amazing interpretation on, and made it special for us in terms of a date that was coming up.
Sometimes I tell if I have a new apprentice, if I haven't thrown them out the door and they're with me long enough, then I tell them what they're really working with is they're working with light.
Sometimes when I think of Zoltan, I think about him as a wizard or a Hun riding a horse, because he has that sort of, he has that ancient way about him where he really respects that craftsmanship and the art of what he's doing.
Most of the great artists were classically trained, and then once they knew the rules, then they broke them all.
He's as close to an expert in jewelry as I've ever met. I mean, he's a trained craftsman and understands the, if you will, scientific aspect of the work better than anyone I've ever known.
So the classical training in goldsmithing and the classical training in design for me was very valuable.
Zoltan's a metallurgist in the old school, ancient ways of metallurgy. I mean, when he first taught us about cold forged and how he hand pulled that gold as he cold forged it. And it was a real lesson to us to understand a craftsman, an old world craftsman.
To have a foundation that's been laid down by generations of people before you, it really accelerates the process of where you can take something when you have that knowledge to lean on.
He's an artist by nature. He's got a number of techniques that he has patented that he uses with regularity on your pieces.
I always want to open the next door and go down the next path and invent the next thing.
Many of my jewelry cases from Zoltan, I've had him sign the cases. He thinks I'm a goofball, but I give him a Sharpie and it's like, well, my babies are gonna inherit this piece and I want the name of the master craftsman that made it on the case when they get it.
So when you're designing a piece of jewelry, you want to glorify the human. You don't want the human to glorify the jewelry. So I think that what a piece of jewelry needs to do is to magnify and emphasize the person.
He's going to capture your essence and it's going to make you a beautiful piece, and it'll be something very different than what you thought you wanted, but you will love it more than anything else you have.
When a client comes in, 98% of the time, they'll come in and they'll look at the jewelry around here and they'll fall in love with it, and they'll discover the fact that it's designed here, that it's made right here, so that the creative is happening right here in front of them.
I think he really has to know you. I mean, I talked about your zen or your energy or whatever. He has to pull something out of you in order to design for you.
So then we get involved and we'll have a conversation, and I'll be looking at their skin tone, their finger, their jawline, all these different things, and listening carefully to what they say.
I think he really pours his heart and soul into what he does. He really takes it as a personal burden to make that piece special and unique to that person and to make them feel special when they wear it.
And always, if I let the process breathe instead of force it, then always the right piece comes up.
He needs to know you to understand how to make you that most special piece of jewelry that will always be in the top of your jewelry case, in that little special niche. That's where your Zoltan David piece of jewelry will go.
Night Dreams, I think, originated to when I was 12 years old. And I remember the first piece of jewelry that really captivated me was a cheap piece of Indian jewelry that was black and had silver inlaid into it. I was fascinated by the way it looked, the contrast of light and dark, that whole thing, and it captured me.
We started talking about a very simple band that would have a very profound contrast between sort of a gold and a dark, and that would have sort of a wave pattern in it.
I introduced cobalt chromium steel as a receiving form of the ring. And then that cobalt chromium steel is then ornamented with inlaid metals, which I have a patent on, so it's a signature and iconic look for our work anyway. And we'll also line that cobalt chromium steel with either pure gold or pure platinum, because it's precious metal that should be touching the wearer's skin.
I have the first Night Dreams ring, and it is an IV patterned ring.
So I didn't want to get into this Night Dreams collection until I worked out the metallurgy and the complications of finding a material that is wear and scratch resistant and maintains its black better than any other black out there.
I really love my Night Dreams piece. The heft of a piece of Zoltan David jewelry is just amazing to have it in your hand.
Now what we end up with is this beautiful couture piece of jewelry at a price that's, it's still not cheap, but it's much more affordable.
I can't tell you how many people stop me and ask me about this ring and want to know stories about it, and then I've sent them here.
It's original, it's beautiful, it's been very successful.
You know, Zoltan, I think, I've seen work that he's done for other clients beyond me. I've seen work he's done for my kids. He always puts that level of care and compassion and thoughtfulness in terms of who this piece is going to and what it means to them and the type of person they are.
And sure enough, she loves these pieces, and sure enough, at times they're the first piece in what becomes a collection of work that I do.
So many of my pieces have evolved from a really simple idea into an amazing, unique piece that you couldn't find anywhere else.
Some things, some directions I may not have gone if it wasn't for Nicole. And so in that sense, she's a muse for me.
You know, I think there's a lot of people that love their work, but other people that it's their passion and everything they are, they put into that. That's Zoltan.
We're all born with a gift, and then it's up to us to discover that gift and then to develop it. So I've taken what gift I've been given and just ran with it as hard and as far as I can, and will continue to.